So before we really start, hello, my name is Tyhara Angus. I'll be the moderator. I also do Afro-centered reviews about horror movies because I love them so much. They feel so before we start, for real, I just want to know who is in the room. So anybody from Boston? Hey. Okay. Anybody outside of Boston? Okay. Yes. Okay. So who is here on the side of Afrofuturism? Like, loves sci-fi, loves all of that. Okay. Who here loves more horror? More of a horror vibe. Okay. All right. And
like them both.
I mean, yes. Who here likes pineapple on pizza? Okay, security. We have to be right there. Okay.
I do actually. Yeah.
All right, so we need a replacement for. No, just kidding.
My truth, and y'all.
Love is love.
I mean, love is love. Okay. So I just wanted to introduce y'all to our panelists really quickly. I mean, I feel like it makes more sense for y'all to give us a little snippet of who you are, just like a little sentence. So, starting with you.
Hey everybody, I'm David Crownson.
Hello.
I'm the founder of Kingwood Comics and the writer and creator of Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer.
Period.
My name is John Jennings, and I am an award-winning publisher, writer, and creator of comics. I actually adapted Kindred, Octavia Butler's graphic novel, and I'm a professor of media and cultural studies at University of California at Riverside.
My name is Greg Anderson Elysee, born and raised Brooklyn. I am the writer creator of It's Not of the Word Spider, and a lot of my books tend to focus on making black people the main characters of speculative fiction and incorporating a lot of black stories, mythologies, and folklore.
My name is Sayyid Lestrade. I'm a comic book artist, graphic designer, and self-declared cinephile.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you all for being here. So to start, I just wanted us to define our guidelines around our discussion. So each of y'all can give me a bit about what defines a black story. So around that, yeah. Anybody?
John.
What? So I like pineapple on a pizza.
Oh.
Go back to that. I'm sorry. Okay, because I remember like the question was dealing with like who is writing the story and that kind of thing, and also like I think a lot of times like a black story is centered around the idea of Afrocentricity, like blackness itself. You know, having like a tokenized black character to me is not necessarily a black story. I think it depends on the story itself. Can someone who is not black write a black story? I think they can. You know, if you look at something like Brother from Another Planet, for instance, or which is like that's a great black story, but it's John Sayles, right? But it's a keystone to like Afrofuturism. So I think it's about like, who's the center of the story, And I'm with like having like a community of black people too. I don't like the idea of like isolated black character as a black story either. But then again, blackness is not a monolith. So it's like how we're looking at blackness from a diasporic standpoint, from like what's going on in our country. Blackness is like a boundary object that shifts around, I feel. So, but yeah, I don't know if that even answered your question.
It did.
Okay.
But that first thing about pineapple on pizza, I don't know. We'll talk about that on the slide.
No. I mean, John made a thing now. So
John alone.
I mean, that's something I can eat every day.
So anybody agree, disagree, want to add on?
Yeah, I'd say that it doesn't really matter who's writing it, as long as the character who is black, it actually matters, like, and that matters to their character. If you have like a sci-fi story that has black people in it, but they can't relate to any of the struggles that are happening now, then that's not a black story, really. It's just someone in space.
Said somebody in space.
It's a hard one, only because it depends on who you ask, honestly. Because for the most part, I do want to say a black story has to come from a black person, showcasing some aspect of blackness, but then it's like, what is blackness? Because everyone has their own sort of definition, their own background of their own blackness. And you have some black cultures against other black cultures, so then it's like, which is what? But then on top of that, it's hard to even say it has to come from a black person, because characters like Storm and Luke Cage, Brother Voodoo, and Black Panther, white folks make them, those characters. So even though I think they got better once black people started actually finally writing and drawing them, but they still, culturally, like their backgrounds had to do with their blackness, but it was from a white lens, if that makes sense, but they were still like black stories. Were they great representation of us? Depends on who you ask. So that's why I say it's a very hard question and answer when it comes to this, but I think it's one that is warranted questioning all the time. So like this is a question that should be asked, especially nowadays when we're getting to a point where it's easier for black people to finally tell our own stories and to present our own stories. Because then it's like, now you really can drill on a white person who's using us. And it's just like, why are you writing this? And did you even, not even why are you writing this, but did you actually ask us, like, can you tell us some like history? Because I feel like as a writer, as a creator, it is your job, yes, you can write about other types of people, but how authentic is it? Did you actually go to that community? Do you have people who can tell you yes or no, this is actually fact? And I think that's what it comes down to as well.
Beautiful. Any other comments?
Yeah, I think to echo what Greg said, it's a very nuanced thing. Like, I'm really regarding, like, I was thinking about Superman, and I was like, what if a black family found him instead? And like, because I was just thinking, I'm like, if like poor white farmers found that man today, like he would storm the Capitol. I don't know if he would do. I'm kidding.
Shaking him
I'm kidding. No.
He's not kidding. No, you're not kidding.
No, it's a very nuanced, because, of course, like with X-Men, it came from white people, but I think I don't know if anyone's watching this little TV show called X-Men 97.
Don't score anything for me.
But it feels, all I can say is you can tell that shows, that writer's room was mostly a black and queer writer's room, just from being an other and also having to deal with that adversity. That's a very nuanced, very specific feeling that everyone can relate to. People of color, black people can relate to. So, again, very nuanced. Very nuanced. Yes. Very nuanced, but very specific. I don't think I answered your question.
You did.
It's a difficult question.
You did. It is a thick mountain of a question, but I'm glad we attempted something. But we can ease on to getting into the nitty-gritty of the titty of the city. So I asked y'all beforehand, I'm sorry, I really love that phrase. So I asked y'all beforehand to try to pick a side. So which side are you repping today? Afrofuturism or horror? It can't be both. We can't do that. Now, okay?
I'll rep horror.
You literally have like three,
I mean,
I'd say I'm definitely more of like an Afrofuturistic side, because I think that that's where you can get more stories like the X-Men. Like, I wouldn't say X-Men is like a very nuanced story. I mean, they have people saying like all muties must die and like holding picket signs. It's not very subtle like whatsoever. But I think that, yeah, but I mean, like, that's what I mean. Like, that's how you can tell an Afrofuturism story, like, through that. Like, that wouldn't be considered something that teaches anything new, but isn't something that's inherently relevant to today, because obviously there's not people running around with mutant powers, but it's relatable. So.
Fair. So many horror.
Yeah, I'd say like most horror that's trying to tell that story without using like black people, having black writers, are doing Afrofuturism.
True.
so I think I don't think Afrofuturism as a genre. It's more of epistemology, you know, a way that you see things. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So for instance, you can actually have an Afrofuturist like pedagogy. You can have Afrofuturist like dance practice, or Afrofuturist
Ooh.
like, yeah, I mean, you know, it's
I'd love to see that.
it's a way of moving through. I mean, Yatasha Womack does Afrofuturist dance choreography.
Wait,
So,
repeat that name, please.
Yatasha Womack, she wrote the book on Afrofuturism. Yeah. So it's like, I don't look at it as a series of tropes and genres. So I was like, oh, because you can have I think Get Out is an Afrofuturist horror story, because Afrofuturism deals with like how black people like manifest technology differently, or even like how do you say trouble or distort how the technology of race is played out in today's society. So like for instance, a book like Kindred. I don't think of it as an Afrofuturist book. I think of it as like what I call the ethnogothic, which is a horror story. You know? Yeah, particularly if you read it, like when you realize Dana is time traveling into the past, you're like, first off, you need to get out of there, girl. And the second thing is like, that's a horror story, you know?
Yeah.
So I always skew horror more because I think it's just a lot more diverse as far as like the different types of stories you can tell, you know? But yeah, I generally don't think of Afrofuturism as a genre. I think of it as a way of living life, like to actually see time differently. You know?
Okay. Love that.
That was just my way of weaseling out the question.
You did it so gently. I almost didn't recognize. Any other?
But I'm more horror though.
Wonderful. Okay, horror, futurism, not hot futurism, more horror.
Yeah, horror.
Horror. Okay, I love that. So we skip this next question because that was already explained. Okay, yeah, this is one of my favorite questions. What do you think is the most overrated trope in Afrofuturism or horror?
I gotta say that. Don't worry, guys. I got this. Mentality. Like, black people in movies, it pisses me off. Like in Jason Goes to Manhattan, like the only black character is like, all right, I'm gonna box Jason, and he punches him for a solid minute and a half. And it's like after like 3 or 4, you don't think like, all right, I'm over this, you know? And then it's just like, all right, you're just gonna stand here. Okay, no problem. Like Mars Attacks, the same thing. Like the boxer is just like, I'm gonna fight the aliens with my fists. Like, run.
Exactly.
I'd say for me, it's the black person staying, because it's such a black joke that we're like, nah, we good. And we walk away. And so, like for example, I don't want to spoil it for who hasn't seen it. Who has not seen Midsummer?
It's been years. It's been years.
It came out in 2018. You had to check.
You like this out?
No, you haven't seen it.
So,
I mean, there's a limitation on spoilers.
alright, so it came out like 2-3 years ago, right?
Okay, close your ears. Close your ears.
Okay, I ain't gonna go crazy with the spoilers. Alright, so you have a group.
Spoil the idea.
Alright. So we have it follows this young lady who's depressed and everything like that, who has to deal with this sort of douchey boyfriend. And this douchey boyfriend has 2 close friends. They're gonna go to this spot in Europe as like a getaway and whatever. And one of them is very much like, yes, I want to do the research on these people. This is for my thesis and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And it had to be the black guy. It was him. So,
Well, you're ignoring the part that the whole trip was his idea.
and the trip was his idea. Okay, thank you for reminding me. So then I'm watching this movie and I'm like, this was probably a colorblind casting because there's no way in
Race
hell.
neutral.
Yes.
I'm like, and they probably just was like, let's add a black person and let's give him this one. I'm like, that's the role, like him? I'm like, there's no way in hell a black person would be doing that. To the point where they get to this creepy ass freaking society, and he's literally the one who is trying to investigate everything. And I'm like, bruh, like I was stressed out watching it. And I wasn't really caring so much for the movie like that, but he was pissing me off. I'm just like, why? Like, they would not, like, no, we would not do this. And like, even though the way they were like sort of trapped in a sense where no matter what race you were, like you were fucked. But it was just like, bruh, come on, like because he was doing more than anyone else and trying to investigate, and he's like, he's finding out, oh, so this is a special artifact for these people. Let me go and I'm like, oh,
Don't touch.
So we need a movie, right here. We need a movie.
yeah, we need shit to happen. But it was just one of those
bad
things where it's like, after a while, it's like, you're used to people doing dumb stuff in horror films. And for me, I definitely always love when the villain is actually way smarter than the intelligent person in the group. Because it's like, okay, because maybe I would have gotten caught because I would have tried this. I'm like, oh shit, they thought of that. That makes sense. But like when you have obviously dumb decisions, you sort of come to expect that. But then when it's like, nah, this motherfucker ain't black. Like, come on. Like this was like, I felt like you could have replaced him with any race. So that was a sense of like, to me, race did not actually inform this character's creation. And I feel like there's certain movies and certain books and stuff where somebody's race may not be generally important, but their background actually informs like what goes on in with them, if that makes any sense. Like, and one example, my fault before I'm rambling. One example I feel like is that movie. It was a movie with Ali Wong and Randall Park. Always Be My Maybe.
Yes.
Like to me, that they didn't really have to be Asian, but because they were Asian and you got to see parts of their culture, and it wasn't like this is an Asian film or like we're pushing. To me, that wouldn't have bothered me. I like stuff like that anyways. Like to me, force it down my throat, whatever. But it's the fact of like it was literally just a love story between these two. But them being Asian and seeing that there was no shame in showing when they're celebrating their cultures, and you know she's using her culture for like her food and all that other stuff. To me, I thought that was like, this is cool. There was actually care in like they're Asian, so they probably have an Asian background. So let's actually use that, as opposed to they could probably be white characters and that's it. You know.
So then what about the movies where they leave?
Oh my god, I love those. So like I think it was one Scream movie,
Scream 2.
Scream 2, where he was like, he literally was like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah,
But then they started the movie with black people still dying first.
Yeah.
But then you had that other black person who was just like, no, I've seen this situation. My ass is gonna die. So I'm just gonna leave.
Jones does that. In what was it, Evolution?
Yeah.
He's like, I've seen this movie. Nope.
Yeah, like
pick it up.
there's this funny thing, like Eddie Murphy is a big horror fan, and he submitted this script as like a joke. He did it in his stand-up where it's like a family moving into a haunted mansion, and they don't know it's haunted yet. And he sent the script, and the script is like 2 pages. Because it's like, all right, we're in this nice house, and you hear a voice that says, "Get out! Too bad we gotta leave." All right, and he said it like as a joke because we're not gonna we can't. The movie needs to happen, but we're not gonna put ourselves through that.
And that's where the title of Jordan Peele's film.
Yeah, that's where it came from. Get out!
Yeah.
And like, I'm just like a friend saying, "Hey man, did you hear that sound outside? We should check it out." I'm like, nah.
So my trope is I don't know if it's necessarily a trope, but more like storytelling style, you know? So the jump scare. The jump scare, like this whole idea, like people, I teach a class on horror, and actually it's on Afrofuturism and the visual cultures of horror, like it's, we have those long titles. Anyway, so we look at Get Out, the kids call it the Get Out class, where we look at like race and horror from like these different standpoints, you know? And one of the things that I start off with is like, what is scary? What is horror? What is the difference? What are the stages of horror? You know, that kind of thing. Like, so dread, when you're like, oh my God, something's gonna get me, you know? Terror, you know, this idea of like repulsion. You ever notice like in horror movies when people like throw up, like, you know, that's like a physical response to like this terror that's about to touch you, you know? But the jump scare is like getting people like to react to something that's not an actual fear, and when it does, it kind of drains like the terror out of you. And so when someone says, "Oh, it wasn't even scary," because it's a temporary reaction to, it's like, oh, and then you're done. So it wasn't even scary. And so people, it really like changes how people interact with horror. Horror is actually a dark affect. Like, what is the thing that's left that haunts you afterwards? See what I'm saying? Yeah. So for instance, when I saw Hereditary,
Yeah.
I felt like it had its way with me. You know what I'm saying? When I left that movie, yes, I know. When I left that movie, I felt like it had attached itself to me and it went home with me. And I was like, oh. Another thing was like, I was telling my wife about it, who's not a horror fan. And we were so excited about it, me and my friends were to go see it. And she said, well, tell me about it. I said, are you sure? And we did a bad job of telling her the story. She had 3 nightmares.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a good job.
Yeah, that's a good job. Well, I think it's okay, but she's scary. Oh, never mind. Yeah, so horror is the feeling of like that unwieldy, like what the Germans call it Unruhe, you know, the unsettling, you know, that sticks with you. You know, if you walk out of that movie and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go to Pizza Hut. That's not a horror movie. You just got scared a little bit.
Yeah.
If you walk out of something like, oh my God, my life has been dismantled. So I want to make that kind of horror. You know what I'm saying?
With the lights on.
Yeah, sleep
Yeah.
with the lights on. Like when I saw The Ring, I was like, oh, no. And I had a Magnavox like that. I had a TV like the one she crawled out of. I was like, I want to go home. I am home. It was kind of like,
Yep.
yeah, that's horror. You know, so anyway, sorry.
No, I get that.
You are blasting Christian music afterwards.
Let me get some birds from Sage.
I think that's tough though with those 2 movies, like Hereditary and Midsummer. Like you're dealing with subjects that are like so hard to talk about, and you're using characters that aren't like horror movies always get away with, like, you know, the kids are jerks at the beginning, so you know they're all of course they're all being debaucherous and doing illegal drugs, so yeah, they deserve to get murdered. Whereas with Hereditary, they're just a family grieving their grandmother, you know, like these are just people. With Midsummer, it's like, yeah, you feel for the girl, but like the guy is just stupid, right? Like, should anybody just, you know, I'm going to spoil Midsummer. Should anybody be paralyzed, put into a bear costume, and set on fire for being a bad boyfriend?
Yes.
Depends on how. Right. Yeah. Depends on like.
That was loud as hell. What my matches?
It's like, yeah, like, but how bad, right? What if someone felt that way about you, right? Have you been through a Baker, but you're like, I'm 100% right. You're not, right? The person on the other side's like, I wish I could put you in a bear costume right now.
Yeah, I think
long-ass
my
threat.
addition to that is, I think it's also the setting in which you watch movies that make the horror like seep into you more. Because I feel like if I watched Nope just on my laptop at home, I would be like, okay, but I saw that shit in the mid row with my nachos and my pizza, the whole road, nobody was with me, and I'm just here with my nachos like, oh my God. Everything that happened, I wasn't expecting, and I was, and then I have homies who are like, I didn't like it. I'm like, girl, you need to see it in a theater by yourself in pandemic when you haven't seen people in a minute. Like that changes the whole thing.
That's a really good movie.
Yes, but y'all pretty much answered my question. Like, what in horror and Afrofuturism, what do they get wrong about blackness and what do they get right? Do you have any other things about what they get right about blackness? Okay, some black people leave. Some black people notice a pattern, but any other things? Like, did y'all see The Blackening?
I love the blackening.
Most would say.
I mean, it was super.
It's like, let's not split up.
Right. I had a sister who could swim really well. She was like Michael Phelps up in this joint. You know what I'm saying?
She's about to go.
In the restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Yeah.
it was good.
Okay, my next question, we're easing on. So, this is the one I was waiting for. Which Afrofuturist/horror movie with black actors, writers, and/or directors need to be on the Mount Rushmore of those films?
Get out!
Oh, Get Out is one?
Well, Get Out is definitely one, right?
Right.
I would say, oh no, that's a white director. Never mind.
Well, it doesn't have to. It can be and or. It
doesn't have
can
to be.
It doesn't have to be all put together. It can be a black actor in there, a black writer in there.
I think that what's the name of it? Sankofa by Haile Gerima is an Afrofuturist film. Yeah, because if you think about it, the structure is very similar to something like Kindred or other stories, like, or like Captain Blackman. You know the film? You know, she's the lead character is a supermodel. She goes to like a slave castle, and she has an ancestral like time travel piece where her body is like, her spirit is kind of like taken over by an ancestor, and she actually has almost like what do you call it? Almost like a spiritual Oculus Rift, where she's like in someone else's body and she experiences this whole piece. You know, she reunites with her ancestors and stuff.
I see.
Yeah, it's called Psycho. There's a Holly Dreamer. There's a bookstore in DC that he owns. It's named after the film. Yeah,
Okay.
but of course, Sankofa is the Andikra stamp. That means go back and get it. The idea of like reliving your past or taking the history and putting it forward. Afrofuturism looks at both sides at the same time. It's like the past, the present, and the future simultaneously, almost in like a quantum feeling. You know? So I think that should be like on the Mount Rushmore of like either like Afrofuturist films or even like proto-Afrofuturist films, something that actually is looking at like speculative fiction. And it wasn't intended to be so, but I think it is.
Yeah. Okay, beautiful. All right, that's 2. You got an addition.
Mine, I think it depends on who you ask, because some people hate this movie. And some people, they're scared of it, but they refuse to watch it again.
I know what you're about to
I
say.
don't know, but I'll
Say it.
I'll do a scene of the movie.
What movie?
Just say it.
Oh, you know, I loved it. I loved it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Beloved.
Beloved. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's funny because I first saw that as a kid, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. I just know like this movie is trippy, but I like it. And as I got older, I would hear a lot of people talk about it, and people would make it seem like it was like one of the worst things they ever watched. And then I read the book, and I did like one of the worst things I could have ever done after reading the book. Like usually, I'm tired, I go to sleep. I'm tired, I go to sleep, and I put the freaking book under my pillow. Not thinking, because I've read enough horror films and watched, like, read enough books and watched enough horror all my life, where I'm like, oh, okay, you know, cool, great book.
Everybody.
Great book.
Oh.
And I was having nightmares the whole night. Just like, and that's when I was like, I love this book. When I woke up, I was like, oh crap, I've never had a book like terrify me like that.
It's my subconscious.
And then like now as an adult, when I watch the movie, and I'm just like, holy shit, why the fuck was I watching this as a kid? Like, and I think it's a brilliant movie, and I feel a lot of people extremely underrated. Like, not only
I
as
taught it in my horror class.
yeah, it's like an underrated horror film and an underrated black film as well. And I feel like it's one of those things where, at the time it came out, no one knew what to really take it as or classify it. To me, that's the definition of ahead of its time. Because I feel like as we watch it now, especially now as, I'm going to reclaim this word woke as we have gotten as black people. Like, I feel like we would appreciate it way more than when it came out. So I would put that as part of the Mount Rushmore.
It disturbed my students.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, to add on to that, Martin, really quickly, the only critique I would have of it is that I think that Oprah was miscast.
Yep.
Because she was Oprah.
Yeah.
So I'm saying she was too famous. But then she's oh, that's Oprah. You know what I'm saying? She can't, you know what I'm saying?
It doesn't give it that.
Yeah,
weight.
and so I think because her love of it, she wanted to be in it and stuff. I think that was a point where she could have stepped back. But I love it. I think it's a great film, personally. Yeah, my students were like, "What are we watching, Professor Jennings?"
Lisa Gay Hamilton plays the younger version of her in that, right?
I think that's right.
Yeah, she could have played that character all the way through.
That's a good point. CJ, thank you.
See, homework, everybody. Watch that movie. See who could have played
And I
Oprah.
have an addition to it, but it's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Here, I just got another one.
Okay.
Number
4.
I have a bit of a controversial Mount Rushmore.
Jesus.
I'm only going to explain myself with one of the movies, and you can pick which one it is. But my Mount Rushmore is Candyman, The Book of Eli,
Take it.
Us, and Night of the Demons.
Oh, that is
I'm a demon.
That's a good choice.
Yeah. You know why, right?
I do.
Because he booked it.
That's
Every
right.
single time he saw something, he ran through a glass door.
Listen.
So scared.
Listen. Okay, so you seen that meme going around like, what's his name is the first black man to survive a horror movie?
Yeah.
LL Cool J. And I was like, so we're gonna.
LL Cool J is the first black guy to have a good contract.
Right.
And Ice Cube.
But so we're gonna totally discount all the blaxploitation horror. You know, I wanted to
Tell me.
add.
Go ahead.
Did you want to say yours? You did, right? Yes. Okay, sorry. I'm old. Anyway, Chameleon Street.
Chameleon. I've
Chameleon
never
Street
heard
by
of it.
Wendell B. Harris Jr. He directs it, he produces, he stars in it. It's about a black man who is like a super genius and he can pretend to be any type of thing. It came in 1989. A lot of people don't know about it. It's a good movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called
Look it
Chameleon
up.
Street. I would put that on. I look at it as Afrofuturist because he's almost like superhuman to a certain degree. It's almost like that TV show, The Pretender. Remember The Pretender?
No, I don't know.
Y'all didn't watch TV. Anyway, yeah. So, but no, seriously, it was like 1989, and this guy could actually like become different people. He could pretend to be a doctor and totally get that kind of stuff.
Oh, homework. Everybody, y'all got it written down?
It's a black movie.
The syllabus?
Street.
I'm sorry.
Chameleons.
Chameleon Street. Yeah, the lead character's name his last name is Street.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's literally like Chameleon Street. Yeah.
Okay.
We should
And-
put these on the Colors and Color website.
Hey, I'm making my list. I don't know if y'all catching up. But my addition to that is my favorite, The Zombies of Sugar Hill. The Zombies of
Oh,
Sugar
yeah,
Hill.
yeah, yeah,
I
that's
haven't
good.
seen it because
Yeah.
I'm also a black lady photographer, and she is one. And the unleashing of zombies to kill was it white gang members who killed her husband?
Yeah. That
I was like,
messed up,
girl,
too.
yeah, I was like, sign me up. But it's beautiful,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful film. Okay, next question.
Zombies is scary.
All right, we getting controversial here at the end of this list. What is the most popular Afrofuturist / horror film that you don't like?
Black Panther.
Ooh,
I'm not explaining myself.
just shaking the table.
They can. My friends know. They saw the Discord rant. They know.
Okay, any glowering reason why?
Yeah. No.
I mean, it's got 11 issues.
I'll tell you why. Because that stupid Michael B. Jordan Killmonger haircut needs to go. I need it to be erased from black culture forever. And I'm tired of seeing it everywhere as the worst contribution to everything, all right?
Wow.
Outside of the haircut, what else?
That's it. That's really
Yeah, that's it?
Everything else is mid. Everything else is mid.
Wait.
It's like a mid movie, and we got that shit haircut. It can go.
So you
The whole
mean to
thing
tell
can
me
go.
if he has a Caesar fade, it's a
Scrub it.
different movie?
Not
it.
someone in the audience who got to agree with you. You got to agree?
But he's totally right about that hairstyle.
It's in all the video games and
So,
stuff.
like, character designers are now thinking, oh, that's the shit. It's not. It's not.
It's like that, and she needs
Okay, y'all can
He said the movie was mid.
The movie was mid.
So tell us what made it mid.
You watch it with any other Marvel movie that comes out, it's all the same thing.
Oh, so yours is the theme of Marvel, just
Yeah,
being
you can't put black people in the same movie and say it's a black movie now. Like, I don't care what you say. You can say it's in Africa,
This is
whatever.
bad.
It's the same thing. It's the same
Take
thing.
that. Well, it's an unpopular opinion. Maybe.
I'm gonna jump in.
Okay.
Find me a superhero film that has to do with a black person arguing for African Americans as well as the treatment of African Americans versus Africans who aren't really part of African American culture. Right? So you have Killmonger, who was African, who lived in America, and with his father dealing with all the bullshit that African Americans were dealing with, and at the same time saying, you guys have the power to help all these other black folks, but you're not. Like, I've never seen a superhero film, mainstream, on that level that actually tackled those themes. right? Whether you loved it or not. The first time I saw it, I was like, that movie's okay. But I was like, but I've never seen these themes covered. I've never seen a superhero film or a high fantasy film where the love interest was a dark-skinned woman. Like, to me, that was like amazing. I've never, to the point where she was darker than the hero.
And they kissed.
And they
They
kissed.
kissed.
Like, I feel like,
Not platonic, hugging, dapping each other up, like full-blown, big, juicy black lips on a big IMAX screen. Damn it!
wide nostrils. Like, even though, like, the first time I watched it, I thought it was just okay, but I feel like it's gotten better each time I watched it because I realized you've never had certain shit before.
No, yeah, I
That
agree.
movie-
I agree. And if they made Michael B. Jordan bald, I wouldn't have
It doesn't change. No, but that's a thing. What Greg is saying, like I have family that's from Ghana, West Africa, and Nigeria, and seeing the arguments, like Killmonger represented like Black American anger, and just seeing that, because again, growing up, I've seen both sides of that. God bless you. And seeing that on a $150 million Marvel film, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a superhero thing. I'm like, oh shit, this is my family arguing. That I don't, God bless you, that you never see, that you never talk about. And it's in this $150 million superhero movie.
That's a lot of money.
It's excuse me, with marketing, it's $200 million. He's a black writers, a black director, an entire black cast except the gentleman from Lord of the Rings. Literally, they're both from Lord of the Rings. You know, and like you never see that.
Talking about Claw?
Again, because yes, he's Gollum.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
like again,
yeah.
you
He was from
normally
The Hobbit.
he's in Two Towers. He's in Return of the King. He's in a cameo in The Fellowship. That's right. I'm nerd with my shit too.
We have answers. We gotta.
But
Yeah, I've never watched
yeah,
it.
I was just agreeing with Greg. And I love the cosplay, by the way.
Oh, thanks. From Lord of the Rings.
I couldn't tell.
Spirit, so any other most popular
just
of these films that you do not like?
I don't know about popular. See, that's the thing. Oh man.
Like popular, like most of us would know the name of it, but you came away like,
don't I like?
That's hard. We see because a lot of this, because you know, Afrofuturism and Black horror stuff, a lot of it's still French. It's still moving into the center. You know?
what about The Matrix?
I mean, I don't think it.
Except the Matrix.
The
Matrix kind of like the Matrix retroactively isn't really about that anymore, right?
Yeah. I don't.
I didn't say I said
I
it.
don't know if the Matrix is like
Said I
Afrofuturism.
said
Yeah,
it.
if you watch
has
Matrix
black
now, it's
things.
very personal. Like,
Yeah.
I ain't said I said it, but I said I said it.
I mean, the
okay?
first Matrix is great.
It was great.
I'm gonna say like this movie called See You Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
That's a Netflix.
so one of the issues, and maybe this is kind of open answering one of your older questions about like things that I find difficult in Afrofuturist stories. I mean, first of all, like a lot of Afrofuturist narratives deal with like fixing the past or like time travel, you know, that kind of thing. You know, dealing with the Maafa or like the slavery or what have you, or just like police violence in this particular case, right?
Yeah.
So I enjoyed the movie, you know, but there's some things, I don't say I dislike it or hate it, but that's just like I have critiques of it, you know. And so, are y'all familiar with this movie? It's about a young black woman and her friend, and they create time travel, right? And so they want to get into MIT, they want to do all this cool stuff. But instead of actually like, I don't know,
Doing something.
meeting
wild.
George Washington Carver or like Amelia Earhart, they have to go back and save her brother who gets killed by a cop. And I feel like a lot of times black speculation has the added burden of like dealing with trauma first before we can actually like do something that's whimsical. Can we get whimsical?
That.
Can we be like, I want to go and meet, I don't know, P.T. Barnum, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So, but no, they're like, very excited at first, and it's like, oh, and my brother got killed. Oh, I got to do something to save my brother, right? And then at the end of it, not to spoil it, I'm gonna spoil it because y'all should have seen this years ago. We don't have an ending for it, right? I'm saying, because she keeps going back and she keeps screwing up things, and so then her friend gets killed, and then all this trauma that she deals with. She's created time travel, for God's sake, right? Time travel, right? So then the other thing is that I saw a sister talk about this, and she said that racism has been naturalized to become a force so powerful that it demanded a black body die.
Ooh.
And I was like, and I like the movie more, but I still didn't dig that. So I want to create science fiction. If I'm gonna do Afrofuturist, I'm gonna spoil it for you. All the black people gonna live. They're gonna win. They're gonna win. Oh no, and as far as another movie I didn't like, it's a TV show. It's like Them.
Thank.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it as like black.
Yeah.
I take back the Matrix.
I didn't think about it as like
I do love the Matrix.
as trauma porn
That
or whatever.
is mine.
But my whole thing is that black family gonna go through that. They're gonna win.
Exactly.
Because if you, I don't mind them going through stuff, but I don't need no like ambiguous ending. I'm like, they survived, right? Oh, we don't know? No, you gotta get up out of there.
Yeah.
Black folk gonna win.
Yeah.
Period.
But the cinematography is really good.
It's beautiful. I thought it was really good. And we had a great conversation about redlining. It actually has some good stuff in it, but I didn't
She got one slap. One solid.
One slap! One slap on Twitter! One slap on Twitter! That's it!
I've seen.
That's it!
But that redliner episode is really well done. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean,
Good face.
any others?
There's one, but I don't want to
Yeah, I know, that's traumatic. It's
Yeah,
traumatic.
I didn't need that.
That's horrific.
Yeah, a lot of that is, and I get it, and I feel like I could talk hours about the unnecessary scenes that they shoot that equally traumatize the people who were in the room shooting it and the actors unnecessarily, when all you needed to do was have a line that says, there was trauma that happened. We
Yeah.
can get it. Okay, there's trauma. We don't have to see the crazy thing. We don't need to see the sexual abuse scene. We don't need it. And I get some people are like, we have to have it happen. Like, hi baby. Like, what was it? There was an interview with Lena Waithe when she was talking about the ending of Queen and Slim. I don't know who has seen that film.
Yeah, I've seen it. They don't live. I'm sorry, y'all should have seen it.
Yeah, but she pretty much said that she could not conceive of writing that film any other way for the ending to be exactly how it was. And I called bullshit. I was like, no, because it's like you re-traumatized everybody in the audience. Nobody in the audience with me left there feeling like I watched something powerful and now I feel like, ooh, something needs to change. They all were just like, well, that's what it's like to be a nigga. Everybody. And we're all just like sad with our sadness. I gotta go get some ice cream just to pop up a little bit.
Welcome to Black America Universal Pictures.
Yeah, pretty much like that. But I think it served its purpose if it wanted to do that. And that's also what we can think about horror and Afrofutures. Like, what does it leave you with? Maybe that was its point. It
depends on, it's the affect, you know what I'm saying? What's the affect? Afrofuturism is more positive, horror, the affect is a darker, more, Afro-pessimism.
Yeah.
But the other thing, and really quickly, that I think what's happening too, like post-Get Out, post-Black Panther, we're still getting used to being subject. Because if you look at like the stuff that happened in something like them, I've seen that in a million movies and with white folks, white, protagonists, whatever. I watch all kinds of horror, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, black people as spectators or as subject, we're still getting used to being the center of the story. You know what I'm saying? Which is interesting, right? Yeah, because we used to being invisible. What if you're not? So when you're hyper visible and you're in the middle of everything, because now we're profitable in a different way.
You caught that?
What happens? Yeah, what happens now when the lens is on us, and that's something that my classes look at.
I love that. I could stay with y'all all day, but I want to get deeper into this last question. We have 9 more minutes, y'all, so stick with us. But where do you think the trend of blackness in storytelling is going? And maybe where do you hope it will go?
I want to get to the point where we don't have first anymore. I don't want the first woman to be anything, black woman. I want the first woman to be on the moon. All this. I don't want it. I want it to be naturalized that we are just seen as. I want everything about us to be naturalized. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes. I want to get. To me, that's a. How do we get to like Star Trek? You know.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That's what we're
Yeah.
trying to get to, but you go through a lot of trauma and change to get there. You know. So I'm thinking like the naturalization of our stories, so it's another story. You know? Yeah. Because people profit off of demographics and division. So, yeah.
I want to get to the point where our various cultures is part of required education and not an elective.
I can't snap. That's a snap, right?
Snap, everybody. Snap, everybody. Snap, everybody. Snap, everybody.
We since childhood, we're required to know who the European fairy tale characters are. We're required to know Greek mythology. We're tested on that all the way up to college. But if I want to learn about Black mythology or stories, that's an elective that I can just to put my credits on. It's not required. So I want to get to that point where that narrative shifts. That's where we're at.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. My classes are not elective, so they're not special topics. They're all in the books. So,
Thinking, this is more personal. It's like, right now I'm in a position where I'm pitching stuff for film and for TV, and I've also seen pitches for film and TV with white men and white women, and what I've noticed, maybe because my thing is called Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, but I'm always asked a million questions. And I think when it's someone who's white, it's like, oh, of course. let's just do this and see what happens. It's like, it's Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer. When does it take place? I'm like, during slavery. Who are the demons? I'm like, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. I'm like, cloud-colored people. I'm like people who own slaves, But yeah, there's I just want to be able to, and also have it be just, again, something whimsical,
I want to escape too.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is like, if I don't get to escape, you don't get to escape.
Exactly.
That's how I feel about it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Ooh, I think that's a title of somebody's next something. If you don't get to escape, ...
Right. No.
Yeah, I think that, with Afrofuturism and Black horror, a lot of times it's going to still be kind of like about contemporary issues with Black culture, until eventually people would start to realize that that's just the culture of the disenfranchised in America. So it's going to stop being Black people. It's going to be these people, and then probably in the year 2035, people will have forgotten about Killmonger's haircut. We're probably going to get a cinematic universe, kind of like the Insidious universe, but it's going to be all African horror stories, all these African demons from all these things that people study about in their college classes. Someone's going to take that, bring it to Hollywood and be like, I want to make 20 movies about this, and then Jordan Peele's going to shoot him in the back of the building, steal all of his ideas, and then we're going to get that. That's where it's going.
Listen, just because Nope is okay doesn't mean.
Nope is okay.
This is best film.
Yeah. No,
It's okay, it's cool. We can
The
find
title
out.
card. What was up with that?
Don't worry about it.
What the title card about? That was weird.
Okay, so before we have more infighting.
Wasted the monkey scene too.
No, they didn't.
Okay, you know what? Let's not.
They wasted
That's
it.
not.
They wasted it. It was a perfectly good horror scene in a movie not about it.
Can we have questions?
Yes, okay, so we have a little time for Q&A with our audience. Anybody?
It needed 3.
Okay, y'all
Question!
Yes. We'll start over here and then hop over to you. So, you're first. You're first.
I'm listening, and it seems to me this is the problem that I'm having. we are a society that are taking profit over everything else. We're bringing things in that doesn't necessarily need to be brought in. I heard earlier, I'm getting sick and tired of going to a movie where you throw in a gay thing, then you throw in something racist about black. It's like they're trying to get it all in for an effect. They want it. They want your reaction. These new people want your reaction. That's why you can go to a horror show and just see everything heads cut off. Bones and testicles falling out and everything.
Testicles.
I just saw a movie called Monkey Man.
Yeah.
It was the worst movie I've ever seen.
Oh my God.
So much killing, so much blood. It was horrible. Well, I'm brought up in that. Stay home generation. I was born in 57. So we were brought up on Leave It to Beaver and all those other shows. What we thought had morals. Because that's what they were teaching us. Those kind of morals. So I'm sort of stuck in that. And I just can't take it anymore. I don't even go. That's the first movie I've been to since Color Purple.
Which color?
Which color purple?
The original Whoopi.
Oh yeah, Whoopi Goldberg.
That's how long I've been to a movie.
Wow.
It's just, I'm trying to find something that helps them. I don't need to go and sleep you in the bed. I don't need to see it. Can't you just give me the sense that you were in bed?
You would love the
I
Equalizer.
see that. Yeah, I'm here for that.
Denzel's in it.
Is it possible to make movies like that without all the gore?
Wait,
Yeah.
I just remembered. I want a magical Negro movie, but we're actually wizards.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes.
There is. You see cartoons, you see like romance movies and things of that. Like there was one that popped up called Really Love. And another movie I really loved, I think it was called The Photograph. And that had to deal with like it wasn't really time travel, but it was like flashbacks and there was no real conflict. I think that may be where we are with movies, where they're like, if there's no conflict, then folks don't feel like they have something to rise up and feel strong. And I don't know what intesticles you were you were seeing in these new movies, but I think I think there's there's a variety right now. You don't have to go to see a horror or a specific thing like this. I recommend The Photograph if you want to see something that's like a palate cleanser and all they're doing is having the troubles of being in love.
Yeah, who recommended you to see Monkey Man?
Why did you go see Monkey Man?
That's a good ass question.
Yeah, who told you to go see
Why did you
that?
go see that?
Somebody said come stay with them and they paid for it.
Okay.
Tell them that it's like,
So you saw it for free.
Yeah. My mom, by the way, she loves. My mother got me hooked on horror and like and all that stuff. Yeah,
See, that's gonna be me with that little one.
Yeah.
Another question I saw.
Hi, nice, thank you for everything, by the way. I had a question about horror when it came to mental illness, like movies such as like Us, Get Out. I would consider Dr. Glass, if you heard of that, was the Night Shyamalan, like kind of take movies like the guy that would.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like, does everyone know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Come on, Split.
Glass.
Glass.
Glass,
It was a whole dramatization of like mental illness, like basically showing these as murderers or people that were ruthless. Like Dr. Glass's whole plan was to storm a building and cause a bombing with just to show it. And what do you think about that kind of stuff? I also had another question, but I feel like it's much different. It was basically like how side characters or characters that are coded to be black or color, like how do you feel about those? So the first question is like mental illness in horror movies like Us, Get Out, everything like that. And you can answer that question first, and I'll reiterate my other question. Is 2 questions allowed?
Well, we're at 3, so any extra questions you have, please come up to the panelists or me. I may give you an answer, I may not. So
the first question of mental illness, then, like how do you feel about that portrayed in films and horror films or Afrofuturism? I don't know any off the top of my head about
fair.
I think that with mental illness in like black community, it's very difficult. Like you can make a whole horror movie about a black person being told they need therapy and then just running away from it, and that's the whole movie. I think because it's so stigmatized, like the idea of even needing help. So movies that are able to kind of like take that theme and roll with it, you have them, but again, it's like there are movies that, you know, I have trouble recommending, like Requiem for a Dream, I think goes through that like theme.
That I feel is a horror.
Yeah, it's a horror movie. It tackles
Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem for a Dream. I have trouble recommending it because it's a movie you only want to watch once, you know? It tackles the themes very heavily, but it has a very Gnostic opinion about it, where it's like, if you're going through these things and you don't get help, there's no silver lining or happy ending for you. You know, you're going to get screwed by the system, and you're not taking care of yourself, and everything's going to go bad. So it's kind of like, that's tough, because, you know, you find movies like that tackle those themes, but they're just not movies you want people to watch, because then they're going to be like, whoa, dude, why did you tell me about that?
Yeah, we're at our time, but I just want to leave y'all with a little bit of positivity. If you do not see the thing you want to see, you must create it. Please, 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 because I would love to see it. Okay, thank you so much for coming. As applause.